Aloha! Welcome. My name is Shelby Morrison, and I am the Programs and Communications Coordinator here at Ikahi Mediation Center. Ikahi is a nonprofit mediation center serving East Hawaii. We were founded in 1983 as a program of the island of Hawaii's YMCA, and in 2006, we became our own independent nonprofit. Welcome to our Finding Solutions Growing Peace Brown Bag Lunch series. We empower people to come together, to talk and to listen, to explore options, and to find their own best solutions. To achieve this mission, we offer mediation, facilitation, and trainings like this one to strengthen the ability of diverse individuals and groups to resolve interpersonal conflicts and community issues. Our Brown Bag Lunch series is held every third Thursday at 12 noon here on Zoom. You have to register on Eventbrite each time to make sure you get that link to your email. And our next event will be March 19th. This Brown Bag Talk will be taught by psychotherapist Kimberly C. Wong, and her title is The Community Resiliency Model, Listening to Your Body to Build Wellness and Resilience. So I hope we can see you next month for that Brown Bag Talk, and I'll pop the link into the chat here. In addition, our conflict and resolution training series will have another session on March 5th with Arliss Dudley Cash with her workshop titled Disc Profiles for a High Performance Workplace. The investment is $50 with group discounts and needs-based scholarships available. It will be held at the University of Hilo, UCB 127 from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. And you can register for this at the link in the chat. Our next basic mediation training starts on March 13th with registration closing on March 6th. This 4-day training is how our professionally trained volunteer mediators get their start. These fabulous folks donate their time to help community members communicate, negotiate, and resolve disputes. We're always looking for additional community members to learn conflict prevention and resolution skills. So please do consider joining our mediator apprenticeship program. Registration again closes March 6th, and partial needs-based scholarships are available. So more details can be found on our website with the link also in the chat. At the end of today's talk, we'll ask you to fill out a short online survey, which helps with our grant funding for this free series. So when I put that link in the chat at the end of the talk, please do just take a moment to give us your thoughts. Well, I'll also be sending out an email later this week with the slides, the video link, and the survey link once more. So without further ado, let me introduce our topic, managing conflict to resolution. And our speaker is Robert Cravalho, who retired after a distinguished 30-year career with the Honolulu Police Department, where he served as a hostage negotiator for 8 years. He successfully managed volatile situations where lives hung in the balance. Recognized as a subject matter expert in conflict management, Robert now shares the same proven techniques used in law enforcement to help others navigate conflict in their everyday lives. Take it away, Robert.
Thank you so much, Shelby. What a wonderful introduction. Thank you so much. I forgot to ask you, Shelby, did everybody get handouts for the presentation today?
I'll be attaching that now. Everyone, I will be attaching a document into the chat here. So feel free to download that. This will be what you'll be using to take some notes and answer some questions that Robert will be asking you.
Thank you so much, Shelby. You've been the wonderful, wonderful host. And thank you all for attending. I wanted to take you back a little bit as we start this class, Managing Conflict to Resolution. I want to take you back to 1999. More specifically, this is November. It is November 2nd. It's probably a cool morning here in Honolulu, Hawaii. The breeze is blowing. And these 7 men woke up from their slumber, went about their morning rituals, coffee, took a shower, brushed their teeth. They kissed their loved ones goodbye, and they went off to work. And they never came home. They never came home. They had no idea that one of their co-workers was going to come to the office that day armed with a 9mm handgun and end their lives. After he committed the deed, the gunman got into a company vehicle and he fled the scene. The police were summoned and they made the grisly discovery. An all points bulletin was aired, and everybody, and I mean everybody in Honolulu, was looking for this individual. It was about 3 hours later where they found him. He was in the company car. He was parked in the Nature Center, a park that we have here in what we call Makiki area, sitting there alone with the firearm. What do you think was going through his mind? Probably to hurt himself. Isn't that the way most of these scenarios end? The hostage team was summoned after the perimeter was secured. They opened a line of communication and they talked to the gunman. And 3 hours later, he surrendered to police. That's amazing. That's not how these scenarios end. So what was different here? Could it be the verbal techniques and tactics the hostage negotiation team used to secure the surrender of this gunman? Possibly. Would you be interested in maybe learning some of those verbal techniques and tactics that the hostage negotiation team used in this scenario? If I shared with you those verbal techniques and tactics, do you think you could use them in your everyday life to manage conflict? Well, I think you could. So let's get started. Managing conflict to resolution. I want to take you back to the mid-90s. I was a detective in the Criminal Investigation Division of the Honolulu Police Department. I had been there about a year. I was doing fairly well. I was arresting some bad guys. I was making cases. And my lieutenant called me to her office. I thought I was in trouble. Again. I sat in her office, just her and I was amazed when she explained to me that there was an opening on the hostage negotiation team and that she thought I would be a good fit. She said she thought I had the right temperament, that I was outgoing and some good communication skills. She wanted to know if I wanted to be a part of the team. Are you kidding me? Me, a hostage negotiator with the Honolulu Police Department? Yeah, I want to do that. And then I started thinking a little bit more about it. Would I be any good? Could I be successful at it? I mean, what would I say to somebody who's holding a gun to their head? Or worse, holding a gun to someone else's head? I made my concerns known to the lieutenant, and that's when she told me something that I will never, ever forget. She said, Bobby, it's not about talking, it's about listening. It's not about talking, it's about listening. I had like a brain explosion. That whole concept was different. I always listen to respond, not really listen to understand. I remember when my mom would tell us when we were kids that God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you should listen twice as much as you say. Did anybody else have a parent that shared that same sentiment? And I don't know why, but I remember this from grammar school. It's an old Indian proverb. Be quiet or your tongue will make you deaf. Be quiet or your tongue will make you deaf. And then I remember this one from my professor when I was doing my graduate work at the University of Hawaii. He said this to us, I never learned anything while I was talking. I never learned anything while I was talking. So I was convinced I wanted to do this. I said, Lieutenant, I'm in. Yeah, I want to learn this talking, listening thing. I want to be a hostage negotiator. And that's when she explained that I'd have to go to training first, which was fine. Although I'll be honest with you, police officers, we don't really like training. Sometimes they're boring, they're repetitious. So training assignments aren't the best assignments, but I really wanted this. And then the lieutenant explained it was out of state for 2 weeks. Do you know what happens to your in bin when you're out of the office for 2 weeks? But you know what? I was committed. I wanted to do this. So I said, Lieutenant, sign me up. I'll take the 2 weeks. I'll go to the training. Where do I have to go? And that's when I thought I hit the grand jackpot. Las Vegas, Nevada. That's right. 2 weeks, all paid, Las Vegas, Nevada. All I had to do was bring my losing money. So I packed up and away I went. And I had 2 weeks of training with Frank Bowles. He was out of the New York Police Department. He was what they considered the godfather of hostage negotiation because he actually started the team at the NYPD. So I'm going to share with you what I learned in 2 weeks, but this is going to be the Cliff Notes version. This is going to be like drinking from a fire hose, all right? But you're going to learn some techniques that you can use right away. So let's go to your handout if you have it handy. If not, you can just scribble on a piece of paper. We're going to go through the 3 rules of hostage negotiation. The first rule you already have. That was given to us by Lieutenant Karen Canijo. It's not about talking. It's about listening. That's the first rule of hostage negotiation. The second rule is this. If it's important to them, it's important to you. If it's important to them, it's important to you. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a very difficult rule to adhere to. How many times has somebody come to you with a situation or a concern or a challenge, and it's like not even on your radar screen? It's like, that is so minor. Why are you even bringing this to me? We have to remember the rule. If it's important to them, it's important to you. I was a lieutenant in the Criminal Investigation Division of Internal Affairs. My unit was in charge of investigating allegations against our employees, Honolulu police officers, and also our civilian. So theft, theft, maybe DUI, domestic violence. Those are the type of cases we handled. My chain of command was me and the chief of police. There was nobody in between. That's how important making sure the integrity of the police department is. So I spoke directly to the chief. And I'll never forget this one day, my secretary came in my office unannounced, uninvited, sat down, crossed her arms and said, Lieutenant, we have a problem. Okay, what's the problem? I asked her. She said, you know, every day after lunch, so-and-so goes into the kitchenette, you know, the little office kitchenette everybody has, and puts her dirty dishes in the sink, and she leaves them, and it's gross. I have my lunch right after hers, and I have to look at her half-eaten food, and I'm just sick of it, and it needs to stop. Now, let me ask you this. I already described my assignment there in the police department directly to the chief. Where do you think dirty dishes in the kitchen sink fall on my list of priorities? Newsflash, it doesn't. But what is the rule? If it's important to them, it's important to you. So I listened to her tell me her whole story, and I told her that I would take care of it. Later that afternoon, or that lunchtime time, I peered out my office and I watched. And sure enough, just like clockwork, here came so-and-so with her dirty dishes, left them in the sink and walked away. So I stopped her. I said, hey, just finished lunch? She said, yes, Lieutenant, I did. I said, are those your dirty dishes in the sink? She said, yes, Lieutenant, they are. I put a little detergent in there with some warm water, kind of let it soak, and then later it's easier to clean. I said, oh, I see. But what about the people that come after you and have to look at your dirty dishes, your half-eaten food? Do you think maybe they'd like to have the kitchen clean when they come in? She looked at me and she said, you know, Lieutenant, you're right. I never thought of it that way. I'll go clean my dishes now, and I'll make sure I clean them every time after lunch. And off she went. Problem solved. But now, to my secretary, am I a hero or am I a zero? I'm a hero because I took care of the problem. But even more so, my reputation was at stake. If I did nothing about that complaint, what would my secretary say the next time she had a complaint? Or somebody else had a concern in the office? They wouldn't come to me. Why? The lieutenant doesn't do anything anyway. So the fact that I addressed it, I gave it the due diligence that she expected me to give it, I kept my reputation. And that was very, very important. So as difficult as this rule is to follow, it's so very important. Remember, if it's important to them, it's important to you. You have to give it the due diligence that they believe you should. The third rule, when emotion is high, logic is low. When emotion is high, logic is low. If you can bring the emotion down, then just like a teeter-totter, the logic is going to take over. Have you ever been so angry that you did something you later had regrets? Sure. We've all done that. Why? Because our emotion, that anger was so high, we weren't thinking logically. And we did something that was maybe out of character or something we regret later. If we would have let the emotion subside, just like that teeter-totter, logic would take over. Then we can make a better decision. So a couple of points here I want you to scribble down in your notes. It doesn't matter what the emotion is. As long as there's too much emotion, logic is going to be low. Now, normally with conflict, it's going to be anger, right? Or disappointment. But maybe perhaps someone is so sad, that emotion of sadness is so high that they're thinking of hurting themselves, which is not a logical solution to whatever challenge they're facing. Or maybe you've seen someone that they're so in love with their spouse or their partner that for Valentine's Day, they don't buy a dozen roses, they buy 9 dozen roses. Why? Because their emotion, that emotion, that love is so high, they're not thinking clearly. Because let's face it, whether it's 1 rose or a dozen roses or 9 dozen roses, it still sends the same message. So please remember, it doesn't matter what the emotion is. Too much emotion, not enough logic. Emotion comes down, logic takes over. The second thing I want you to realize is that you have this emotion, logic, teeter-totter in your own body, in your own self. So you have to make sure you're managing your emotions to make sure your logic stays up. So if you're dealing with a conflict and the person is really upsetting you or saying things that upset you and your emotion starts going high, what happens to your logic? That's right, it goes down. So you have to make sure that you keep your emotions in check. Otherwise, you're going to make a decision that you later regret. So that's it. Pretty simple. The 3 rules to hostage negotiation. The first one, it's not about talking, it's about listening. It's not about talking, it's about listening. The second one, it's important. If it's important to them, it's important to you. If it's important to them, it's important to you. And finally, when emotion is high, logic is low. Bring the emotion down so that logic can take over. Now, if you have questions, I've got the answers. But could you just type them in the chat? And then Shelby's going to help us later at the end of the brief to go through the questions. So you have questions about those 3 rules. Now's a good time to go into the chat. And while you're doing that, we'll just move on. We want to go into the process, the actual steps that you are going to take to manage this conflict to resolution. The first step is rapport. And I apologize if I'm blocking rapport, R-A-P-P-O-R-T. But the first step is rapport. Whoever you're dealing with, you should have a good rapport with them. And let's face it, there's only 2 types of rapport. There's good rapport and bad rapport. You should have good rapport with everybody that you deal with. So if you're a boss, you should have good rapport with your direct reports, right? Have good rapport with them. How do you have good rapport? Well, you're nice to them, you help them, you give them the tools they need to be successful, right? That's how you build good rapport with them. If you're dealing with somebody and you don't have good rapport with them, I hate to tell you, this process is not going to work. There has to be that trust, that confidence. So have good rapport with them. You might be asking, as a hostage negotiator, how do you deal or how do you build rapport with the bad guy you're talking to? Well, we just show concern for them. While the other police officers have guns out yelling, get on the car, get on the ground, give up, throw the gun out. We don't do that. We ask them, hey, how you doing? Is everything okay? Right? When we introduce ourselves, we don't use titles. I'm not Lieutenant Cravalho from the Honolulu Police Department. We don't use titles. We want to be even Steven. I'm Robert. How you doing in there? Is everything okay? Right? Show genuine concern for them. And if you can do that, you can build rapport with even strangers. All right. We just have to care about them. And we should care about other people anyway, shouldn't we? Isn't that what we're made to do? Yeah. So building rapport or having good rapport, that's your first step. If you don't have good rapport, yeah, you're gonna have a challenge going up here, up the steps. All right. So first step, rapport. The second step is active listening. And I know a lot of you probably have been schooled on active listening. You have been practicing active listening. So I get it. This is just a refresher. And if you've never heard of active listening, please Google it, study it. I have been a student of active listening since I was a first hostage negotiator. I still don't get it right. It's very, very challenged to be an active listener. The definition is simply this: communicating back to the person who's speaking to you that you are truly actively listening to them, right? You're listening to them. How do you do that? Well, a lot of ways. Your posture. Maybe you're sitting forward. You're giving them good eye contact. You don't have your arms folded across your chest. You're not leaning back in your seat. You're focused. You're into what they're telling you, and you're really listening to them. You're facing them, yes? So your body posture, your gestures, your eye contact. Those are nonverbal clues that you're giving to the person speaking that you're actually listening to them. Then you can do some verbal clues as well. Simple phrases or even short sounds. Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Go on. What's that? No kidding. Just these little prompts to keep the person speaking. And while they're speaking, what are you doing? You're listening. You're listening to them. You can also reflect back to them or what they've said to you. If they said, he walked right in the door, through the door without even knocking, you might repeat the phrase, right? What? He just walked in without being announced? As soon as he walked in, he threw the book at me. What? He threw a book at you? So you're just repeating what they've already told you so that there's no miscommunication in their mind that you're actually listening to them because you're repeating it back, all right? And what are you really listening for when you're doing your active listening? You're listening for the emotion. What are they feeling? Once you've identified the emotion, then you want to qualify it. So they might be telling you something about a conflict or a challenge, and you might say something like, wow, you sound angry. And they probably respond, I am angry. And that's when you qualify it. I'd be angry too if that happened to me. Wow, sounds like you're excited about this trip coming up. I am excited. Wow, I'd be excited too if I was going on a trip that you just described. So what you're doing is you're just qualifying it. You identify that emotion through your active listening, and then you give it back to them just to make sure you got it right. And then they'll let you know, yeah, I'm angry. Yeah, I'm sad. Oh, yeah, I'm excited. And once they give you that, you qualify. I would be excited or sad or angry if that happened to me. Now, please understand here, you're not agreeing with what they might do. For example, in the scenario I gave you at the top of this brief, I'm not going to agree with what the gunman did. But once I go through the story at the end of the brief, you'll understand why he was feeling the way he was. And I bet you would feel the same in that situation. So you've developed rapport, you're doing your active listening, they're talking to you, you're listening, you're doing your verbal clues, you've identified the emotion. Now we're going to take a step back and see where we're at with that emotion logic teeter-totter. Now, if you have a challenge and you share it with somebody, you tell them what's going on in your life, you get it off your chest, how does that make you feel? Doesn't it make you feel a lot lighter? Because you got something off your shoulders, a weight's been lifted off your shoulders. Well, that's how this person is going to feel too. You have somebody that I like that's actually listening to me and they understand what I'm feeling. That emotion is automatically going to go down. And what's going to happen to the logic? That's going to take over. Once you're at that point, now you can come up with a suggestion. How are we going to resolve this conflict? Now, I will tell you this, that 98.7% of the time, which is a statistic I just made up, but 98.7% of the time, people know exactly what they're going to do. You just got to ask them. Wow, you sound angry. I am angry. I'd be angry too if that happened to me. But what are you planning on doing about it? Well, let me tell you what I'm going to do. You see, they already have an answer. Now, it might not be the right answer, and it might be out there. Well, that's where you're going to work with them on arriving at the right answer. But just ask them, what do you plan to do about it? Once you get the emotion down, logic is taking over, simply. So what are you going to do about it? Let them tell you their plan. Now, if they don't have a plan and they say, well, that's why I came to you, you're the boss, what am I supposed to do? Be careful here. You don't want to tell them what to do because you could raise the emotion back up. What you want to do is put it in the form of a question. Make it a little bit more palatable for them. You might say something like, well, what do you think would happen if you ABC? Do you think it would work if you XYZ? So again, you're making it a little bit easier for them because now it's kind of their idea. You're giving them selections or choices to make, and then they're going to make a choice. So if they have, once the emotion and logic is all set up, you got more logic, hit them with the suggestion, what are you going to do? If they don't know, offer some advice, but do it in the form of a question and ask them, okay? Once you've done that, you can bring about to conclusion. When you bring about the conclusion to end the or to end the conflict, you go right back to the bottom report because you might have to meet this person again. Their solution might not work, and they're going to come back and see you next week. So you always want to end back on rapport. Something like, hey, thank you for coming to see me about this. You've really demonstrated your trust in me, and I appreciate that. Please, I wish you the best of luck. Let me know how it goes. Please come back and see me and let me know if I can ever be of service. So again, you want to start at the bottom again with rapport so that the next time they come in, you're right at active listen. And that's really it. It's really not that hard. Rapport, active listening, emotion logic, go with the suggestion, and finish it up with a conclusion. And that's really about it. Now, I know you have questions, and I have answers. So we're going to take a moment and just go ahead and put some questions in the chat that we can address at the conclusion of the brief. Meanwhile, I want to take you back to the Nature Center in Makiki, where our gunman is sitting in the van. We had set up a perimeter. The police had cordoned off the whole area. They called in the hostage negotiation team. I was on that team. We opened up a line of communication. We threw a throw phone. We used a throw phone to give to the gunman and as he sat in the van. It's literally a telephone that's wrapped in padding and Velcro, and it's got like 1,000 feet of telephone line, and we throw it. That's the reason for the term throw phone. So we introduced the throw phone. So we had an open line of communication. So the gunman is speaking to our command post, which has our negotiator, and then a backup negotiator, the coach, we call them. Now, the coach is just responsible for writing notes on a sticky notepad and putting sentences and phrases in front of the lead negotiator. In case they run out of something to get the conversation going again or what have you, they have all these notes in front of them. For this particular job, we had a female negotiator. We didn't know if that was going to work, but we thought he's male. Let's try a female voice. Maybe that would work better. So we went with a female negotiator. And we started off with rapport. As I mentioned, we talk to them and we try and build this relationship with them. So it started off with, hey, my name is Cheryl. How are you doing in there? And she's trying to build rapport with him, right? Because that's the first step. And it was very difficult because he had just killed 7 people. And he felt that we as police officers, because we knew we were the cops, that why are we being so nice to him? And he even said that. He even said, I don't understand why you're being so nice to me. I just killed 7 people and you're being nice to me. Now, as negotiators, we're always trained to soften our words. So we don't say kill, we say hurt. We don't say hospital, we say take you somewhere where people can help you. So we always try and soften it. And here we are in the command post, and he's literally addressed us. I mean, he's kind of really confronted us and said, well, I killed 7 people. And now somehow we got to make that softer. So this is what we said. Well, you didn't kill 8. Now, I know right now you might be thinking, wow, what a thing to say, but it's true. It always could be worse. He could have killed 8. And later on, as we did the investigation, we found out there was one person at the office that he did not shoot at because that person never wronged him. So he let him run away. He told him to run. So we're building rapport with him. It's starting to work. We're starting to get through. He's starting to talk to us. So now we're going to do our active listening. He lived with his father in a house up on the mountains in Makiki. They had fish. He raised fish. So he told us all about the fish he raised, how many he had, what he fed them, how quickly they multiply. He told us everything we wanted to know about his fish. And then this company actually worked on or repaired office machinery. So he started talking about fax machines and copy machines and explaining to us how they work. Now, let me ask you, do you think we care about fish or office machines? Because we don't. But what is the second rule? If it's important to them, it's important to you. So we did our active listening. Really? How many fish? Wow, that's incredible. I never knew how a copy machine worked. Wow, that's cool. All right. We just did our active listening. And then he kind of opened up. And then we got into the gist of everything that was happening. We wanted to see where that emotion and logic was going. So he told us that at work, he was bullied. He was ostracized from the other repairmen. He would tell us how they hid his tools from him. So he'd go on a job and he couldn't complete it because he didn't have the right tools for the job. He would tell us how the supervisor would always give him the most challenging assignments. When everybody else got the easy jobs, he always got the harder jobs. He always ate lunch by himself. Again, he's ostracized. He felt alone and he was angry. He thought that day, November 2nd, when he went into the office, they were going to terminate his appointment. That's what they thought. That's what he thought. Now, later, the company would tell us that wasn't true. But remember, perception is reality. If that's what they think, then that's the way it is. And he told us this. He said, if they were going to fire me that day, I was going to give them something to fire me about. I know. Very, very sad. But you can see the emotion is going down. The logic is kind of taking over. And so Cheryl said to him, our negotiator, wow, you sound really angry about that. He says, yeah, I'm angry about that. And she said, I'd be angry too if my coworkers and my supervisor treated me the way you were treated. Now, again, she's not agreeing with hurting 7 people, but she can understand the emotion that he's feeling because she would feel it and felt it too. And I'm thinking, even though I really don't get to see you folks because we're on Zoom, I'm thinking you feel for him as well. Again, we don't agree with his response, but we certainly understand being bullied or ostracized from your employees at work. So now it's time to offer a suggestion. Emotions down, logic's taking over. He kind of likes us. We listen to his fishing stories. So now's the time for a suggestion. We've been at this for about 3 hours. We found him around noon. So this is about 3 in the afternoon. The sun is kind of, coming down. So it's like eye level. And it was a hot day in Hawaii. And so he says to her, Cheryl, our negotiator, he says, it sure is hot. She says, yeah, it really is. I could go for a nice big Coke. And he says, yeah, with extra ice. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call a hook in the hostage negotiation world. There's something that he wants that he can't get except through us. So now maybe we can try and barter for a Coke with extra ice. Now, what are we going to barter for? Some people say, well, have him throw the gun out. Okay, that's good. But we want to think bigger. What do we really want? We want him to surrender. Now, is he going to surrender for a Coke with extra ice? Probably not. But we can start there and work our way down. If he's not coming out, maybe he'll throw the gun out. If he won't throw the gun out, maybe he'll throw out the magazines. Maybe if he's not going to throw out the magazines, maybe we can have him throw out a few bullets, right? Because that would make us safer. He would have less ammunition. So we're always going to try and negotiate something. But you don't give without getting, right? So we're going to try and negotiate something. So she says to him, I tell you what, after you come out, and she didn't say when or if, it was after you come out. So in our minds, we know he's going to come out. After you come out, I'll get us 2 Cokes with extra ice, and we'll drink them together. And believe it or not, he surrendered for a Coke with extra ice. Now, let me ask you this. Does he get the Coke? Because some people would say, no, he doesn't deserve it for what he's done. He doesn't deserve to have that. And I'll tend to agree with that. However, your word is your bond. If you said you're going to do it, then you need to do it, even in these situations. So Cheryl, after he was in custody and at our central receiving, our booking division, she bought 2 Cokes with extra ice. She went to the cell block. She asked the turnkey's permission to go in the cell with him. And she sat with him and she drank a Coke with extra ice. Now, do you think that was easy for her? Because I'll tell you, it wasn't. But it had to be done. She had to do it. So the question here now is, does this process work every time? Absolutely not. And I can tell you other stories, tragic stories, where this did not end well. But I'll tell you what you do have. You do have some tools now in your toolbox that you can use when you are dealing with conflict. And you can use this at work. You can use this at home. You can use this with your spouse, your partner, your kids. You can use it at church. This works. It works. Believe me, it works. All you got to do is try it. So remember your 3 rules. It's not about talking. It's about listening. Remember that if it's important to them, it's important to you. Very, very challenging to do sometimes. And finally, when emotion is high, logic is low. Bring the emotion down so logic can take over. And then don't forget the 5 steps. Build rapport, have rapport already. Practice your active listening. I promise you, this is very difficult to do. Active listening is very difficult to do because we listen to respond and not to understand. So we need to listen to understand that emotion and identify it, right? Where that emotion and logic teeter-totter is, emotion is lower because you've done your active listening. Now you're able to offer suggestion and then bring it around to conclusion. I know it's a lot. It's very, very simple. And some might say, simple recipe, is it delicious? It works. Believe me, it works because I've used it and I continue to use it. And I'm so excited that I was able to share it with all of you today. So I know we have questions in the chat because I see the chat number going up. So I'm going to turn it over to Shelby. Maybe if she can kind of be my go-between, if you will, my mediator, if you will. And Shelby, do you have any questions for us?
We do. So first question, how do you manage boundaries with the second rule?
Of active listening, like I don't know.
If Connie wants to go ahead and unmute herself, she can clarify on that question.
Hi, thank you for the presentation and for taking my question. So I was curious when the second tenet about if it's important to them, it's important to me. So I have a question about like boundaries, right? Because sometimes it can get very, like if it's so important to them, at what point do we start drawing boundaries about that?
I would say never. Because it's important to them. Now, you might not be the one that's going to rectify the situation, but if they come and they say, I come early every day and the building is still locked up. I can't get into it. Well, you're not responsible for opening the building, so that's not your concern, right? We say in Hawaii, kuleana, your responsibility. But maybe you can talk to the person who is responsible and get that taken care of. So I don't think you should draw a boundary. I'm not saying you got to solve all their problems, but you should at least be able to address it. And if you're addressing it, you're showing them that your concern is their concern is your concern. So again, you don't have to address their problem or be the one who solves it or their challenge, but at least get them in the right. And don't say, "Oh, well, go see Bill because Bill has the keys. Go see what Bill says." I think if you do it and say, do whatever, shoot Bill an email or whatever it might be, but I don't think you should ever dismiss it. Like, oh, that's so minor. Don't even get out of my office. That's really not going to go over very well. Does that help, Connie?
Yeah, thank you. I like what you said about it might not be on the person to solve it, but
Right.
about acknowledging it and maybe taking steps towards it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Good. What else you got, Shelby?
Paula asks, if someone is not talking, what are some good opening questions to ask?
That's a good question because in the hostage world, it's a little different. Like I'll tell you, if they're not talking to us, we won't push it. But then let's say the phone rings and we won't answer it. And I remember the first time we did that tactic, and I'm like, shouldn't we answer the phone? It's him, he's calling. And they're like, no, because we have to show that we're in charge. So yeah, so we only talk when we're ready. So, but that's a good question, Paula. What are some good questions to start getting? Well, we do it with the rapport building. How are you doing? What's going on? What's happening? I mean, if somebody comes to your office with a problem but doesn't communicate it to you, then I don't think you're gonna be able to help them with the conflict. So I think they're gonna come and they're already gonna be kind of verbalizing whatever it is. So I'm trying to think of a situation. Unless you want to unmute Paula and maybe help me.
Yeah, I was thinking more in terms of a serious hostage situation versus something in the office, because usually in a more familiar environment like an office, people are going to want to contribute or offer what's bothering them. But in cases where you kind of have a standoff, that's more where my question was aimed at, where you have more
So
serious
I will tell you that every law enforcement agency, bar none, across the country, I say this with a lot of confidence, wants the person to come out. Nobody wants to end it in a gunfire. We always want to go home safely, and that's the gunman as well. That's what we want. And our SWAT officers will say the same thing. I mean, it's very difficult for them to get all geared up and then stand down. And then our negotiations take hours, and they sit there and they wait because we are always ready to go tactical. So if somebody's not talking to us, or if we start hearing gunfire or something like that, then we're going tactical. We're moving in because now they've made that decision for us to go tactical. But as long as they're talking to us, not hurting anybody, they're not hurting themselves, then we will just talk and we will talk and we will talk. Well, actually, we'll listen is what we'll do, but we'll keep that line of communication going. So if they're just going to shut down on us, okay. So now we're not communicating, but now we hear some rumblings, we hear gunfire, then we're going to go tactical. I hope that answers your question, Paula. What else do you have, Shelby?
All right. Timothy asks, how do you deal with a narcissist?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. Bipolar, everybody has mental health challenges. I know I do as well sometimes. I don't think we label them. I don't think there's anything different. I think hopefully everybody wants to be cared for and cared about. I just think that's a human nature, no matter what mental health issues you may have. So I think the formula stays the same unless you want to be more specific.
No, I get it. It's just sometimes that sort of personality wants to be in control, and it can be difficult to shift that dynamic.
I see, Timothy. Very, very good. Very good point you just brought up. They are in control. they're in control of what happens on the inside, right? There's nothing that I or we can do about what happens on the inside. Yes, they are in control, but we're in control of what happens on the outside, right? So when he starts dictating to us, we don't have to answer, right? Or we don't have to comply with what he's saying. But yeah, is he in charge? Yeah, he's in charge with what's happening inside. He can hurt somebody or not hurt somebody. But if he does, then we're going to respond accordingly. But yeah, so as far as in charge, yeah, technically they are in charge. But yeah, we're in charge of outside. Does that help?
Yeah, that does. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Sure, of course. Thank you for your question, Timothy, and being with us today. What else you got, Shelby?
Okay, Darlene has a few questions here, so we're just going to go at them one at a time. What if you have to do this with a whole group all at the same time?
A whole group of bad people?
Feel free to unmute, Darlene, if you want to clarify.
Yeah, like what if there's a group of, it could be teens or anything, and you're trying to use this process.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would certainly change the dynamic. So that's a great question. I don't think I've ever been in a situation where I negotiated with a group. But you're saying like maybe like a Waco, Texas thing. I would say that even if it's a group, there should be one person in charge. And if that person is in charge and you can convince them by going through the steps, then hopefully you would be successful. That really is a great question though. But I'll be honest with you, I've never really had a situation where we dealt with a group that like tried to take over something, and now we have to deal with a group of people. But I would say, again, there should be one person that's in charge and calling the shots. So hopefully, if you can speak to that person and get them over. But let's face it. I mean, if you're dealing with terrorists or something like that, I mean, this stuff is like for run-of-the-mill challenges that people have facing their day-to-day life. But if you have a group that's willing to sacrifice their life for their mission, then yeah, like I said, this stuff doesn't work all the time. What we're doing is just giving you the process so that you can use it. It's just a tool. And you had other questions?
Yeah, go ahead, Darlene. She asks, what if your boss or organization won't let you, as well as if it ends badly, how do you recover?
If your boss, if they won't let you do what? Negotiate or?
Like say, for example, you want to use this process and your higher ups are not in favor of, say, for example, giving them the Coke or just whatever. At any point in the process, they say, no, that's it. That's enough. We've been here 3 hours. We're not going for 4 or whatever it might be.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're getting directions from your superiors, then you need to follow the directions of your superiors. This is more or less, yeah, I mean, if they tell you that's it, then that's it. Then you've stopped. I mean, you give it your best shot, you've given it your best shot. Yeah. So you'd have to do what they say. But hopefully they can realize, because that's kind of a conflict in itself too, right? So if they're saying that's it, too long, remember what are they exhibiting? Anger, right? Their emotion is up high. Let's just cut this off, right? So now maybe you develop another conflict that you have to deal with. But I would say for the most part, you have to follow your supervisors or your superiors. Whatever they say is what you do, right?
And so the last one was about if it does go poorly, how do you recover?
Poorly meaning?
You
Like
said
that,
yeah, like sometimes this doesn't actually always work in every situation. And then how do you recover from that?
I think you still go back to rapport, because if they ended, like they're in your office and this is a bunch of baloney and this hogwash and I'm leaving, where's their emotion? It's still up here. So we haven't even got to bring the emotion down. Maybe they need to cool off. So you go back to rapport. Hey, I understand that you're very angry about this. I get it. You're frustrated. I get it. I'm always here. Please let me know or whatever. So I would say just go back to the rapport. And you have to genuinely care about other people. And if you don't care, it's going to show and they know it. So it's really not going to work. So that's why I always say the rapport step is the most important, right? If they have good rapport with you, then hopefully they would, work with you on what you're trying to do. But yeah, if they get frustrated and they're angry and they storm out of your office, emotions high, logic was still low. So When they come back again, we have to start all over again. So I don't know if that's enough going south for you. Like for us, I mean, if it goes south, it's usually a gunshot. So I mean, it pretty much ends everything. But at any rate, um, always stick with the rapport. Yeah, always be the gracious person.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for the questions, Darlene. I hope I answered them. You have anything else, Shelby?
Yes, I do have a question. If face to face, what do you feel works best, being in uniform or being in civilian clothes?
Oh, as a police officer, yeah, definitely civilian clothes. I watch, maybe some of you do, watch those cop shows on TV, 48 Hours or what have you, the real life ones. And I see the two cops walking into the interview room and the camera's angle is on the top and there's the person, the bad guy sitting there and the two cops come in with a tie and the tie clip that has their badge on and their badge is here and their gun is here. And yeah, we don't do any of that. You want to build rapport. So again, it's not, this is Robert, this is Lieutenant Cravalho from the Honolulu Police Department. No, this is Robert, right? So you want to build that rapport. When you're dealing with a suspect, you want them to be your friend, or you want to create this relationship, right? Because who do you tell your secrets to? Your friends or your enemies, right? So if you're a detective trying to get a suspect to confess to a crime, then he's going to tell you if he's friends with you. That bad cop, good cop stuff, I don't subscribe to that at all. Because if I'm with my partner and he's the bad cop and I'm the good cop, and the suspect sees him as a bad cop, he's going to see me as a cop just like him. So I don't really think that works. So we never used to do that. I think I would generally care about the suspects I used to interview. And sometimes they do things they probably regret, but there was probably a reason, you know. It's probably not a good reason for maybe you or I, but it is for them. So, but yeah, no uniforms, no books. You know, walking in there with your notepad with the badge on it, Honolulu Police Department, nothing like that. And even our statements are taped. Our suspect statements are taped. I would activate the tape recorder and I would put it way off to the side, because if it's like right in the front, it's a reminder that everything you say is being recorded and it's going to be listened to by whoever. So I'd always turn on my tape recorder and put it off to the side so they wouldn't see it. So yeah, minimize your position as much as possible. That's why even too, I've been going off on a tangent now, but I just had a one-on-one with my boss. It's a new boss. And he came out from his desk and he sat next to me on the chair. I was sitting there was an empty chair. He came out and sat next to me. So the desk wasn't in between us, right? So again, I mean, I know what he's doing, but he's trying to bridge that gap, you know, that authority, that desk, right? So anyway, yeah, long answer to a short question, but yes, definitely civilian clothes. And a nice aloha shirt would be good. What else you have, Shelby?
All right. Grayson asks, how do you respond when people are lying?
That's a good question. It depends. I mean, if it's hostage negotiation, then you're certainly not going to call them out on it because you're just doing your active listening. Perception is reality. I may think you're lying, but you might know something that I don't. So in that situation, it's a little different. If it was an interview with a suspect who committed a crime, sometimes you have to call them on it, but you'd have to show the evidence. Yeah. So you just have to kind of work through it. It's kind of a hypothetical question or situation. How would you respond? It really would depend on what situation you're in. But yeah, if it was a suspect and they're lying to you, then at some point you just have to call them on it. But don't call them a liar. You know, I understand why you wouldn't want to tell me the truth because, you know, the person that did this, you know, is a little bit, it would be, I don't want to say embarrassing, but somebody that did this wouldn't want to admit to it. And I understand why you might be lying because you're scared. I understand that. Right. So again, it's rapport, it's active listening. Yeah. Being genuine and actually caring about the person. I think that's the hard part. Yeah.
Okay. Last question. Referring back to your lunchroom situation, what was going to be your plan if the person was not so willing to wash her dishes immediately?
Yeah. Well, I'm the boss. So, I mean, push came to shove. It's like, you know, then there's a directive, no dirty dishes in the sink, or I could have done something to rectify the situation. But in this case, I just, again, just build rapport, just ask her nicely. She was willing to do it. So that worked out well. But, you know, again, as the boss, you have other tricks up your sleeve or other avenues that you can explore or something like that. So, you know, you hate it. You would not like it to get there. God, that was a terrible sentence. You don't want to go there, but if you have to, you have to. Yeah. But nonetheless, I'm still demonstrating to my employee that their concern is my concern, and I am trying my best to rectify it. Whether it's just talking to the culprit or making a policy or turning off the water in the kitchen or closing up the kitchen. I mean, there's so many things that you could do, right?
Okay, that is the end of our questions.
So that's it for me. Shelby, thank you so much for inviting me. I don't think we had time for takeaways because we're on the hour, but I'm hoping you folks glean something from this presentation. There's my website. If you want to go, you can contact me. I want to be a resource for you. So if something's going on and you maybe need some help or you want me to want to bounce something off of me or whatever, I'm happy to. I'm certain they say I'm a subject matter expert in conflict management, but I know I'm still learning. So I would welcome your calls because I would probably learn from you as well. But visit my website and you can get a hold of me through that as well. And again, Shelby, thank you for this opportunity to be with everyone. I certainly enjoyed myself. Back to you, Shelby.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Robert. And that was just a wonderful presentation, so informative. I hope everyone's able to take away a little something that they can apply both in their professional and personal lives. Thank you so much for everyone for coming. As a reminder, please just take a quick moment to fill out our survey. This is what really helps with our grant funding to provide this free series. So the link is in the chat, and I'll also be emailing you tomorrow with the handout again, the video link, and the survey link once more. So mahalo, and we'll see you all next month.